Hi friends, it's Jenny, and I am back with some more Bracelets of Thankfulness. Now, my week last week did get away from me a little bit. Had a lot going on. I still feel like I'm playing catch up. And I had meant to do the second week of the Gemstone Orphanage Staff Challenge with the Stones of Thankfulness. The whole plan was to do 4 videos, 2 each week until I completed everything the last week in November. But I missed last week. And so I decided, since it was close to when I would be doing this week's anyway, rather than do 2 separate videos and try to schedule that in with my sister and everything else that we both have going on, because we are both needing and wanting to create, that I would just have this video be for weeks 2 and 3. So the first week was rose quartz, and when I made this bracelet, I told you a little bit about my sister. If you missed the earlier videos or the earlier video in this, I'll go ahead and link it. I did do an order opening at the beginning of that video, and then followed with the bracelets. There is a link in the description of that video to jump directly to the bracelets if you want to do that. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking these gemstones, and rather than doing something that is elaborate each time, I'm taking this as an opportunity to just create with some simple but meaningful design and mindfulness. So while I string these projects, I'm going to be thinking about what I'm grateful for and sharing my thoughts with you as I do that. So this one is for my sister. It's her favorite gemstone. And I talked a lot about our relationship and how the strength that we have in our relationship now, which we have not always had, came from the conscious choice for both of us to both give and receive each other's love. And so we have love flowing in and out. This one is Green Aventurine. And when I made this, I was thinking of my husband. Green is his favorite color. And he's a very grounding person for me. And some of this design is meaningful specifically to he and I. In this middle section here, he got the message right away when I showed him. But this one has some meaningful design to us in our relationship. And so those are the first 2 that I made in the Gemstones of Thankfulness. So this time I'm going to be doing 2 weeks. The first week is Labradorite and blue apatite. And then week 3 is red jasper and tiger's eye. And so I'm going to be talking to you about each one of those, what they represent to me while I'm making with them. Let's start with the Labradorite. This is from the 7 Stones of Thankfulness. And the Labradorite, and yeah, I know the color on this is adjusted because I'm filming this at 1 a.m. And so my phone automatically adjusted for blue light. Don't worry, that's not going to affect everything. I'll just have it off screen so it looks orange when it's recording here. But Labradorite is a stone of transformation and magic. This mystical stone encourages self-discovery. It is excellent for awakening your awareness of what is good in your life, enhancing appreciation for the multitude of blessings to be thankful for. So I got into my stash and got out some of the Labradorite that I wanted to use for this. And sorry, I forgot to get my beading wire. I'm just using the same beading wire that I used on the first 2, which is the 925 Extreme Silver. Regardless of what colors I'm using the same on all of them. And, oops, that got tucked in. But these are some Labradorite cubes that I have, and I'm actually going to be using these instead of a metal spacer when I'm stringing the Labradorite. So I might kind of pick through this strand. I'm going to go ahead and snip it. I might pick through the strand as I'm going to get the, I don't know where my smaller snips are, but to get the ones that have just a little bit more of that flash and sparkle. Or the color tones I'm looking for. Some of these are darker, and I do have dark Labradorite that I'm using, but I want to use the lighter colored stones as spacers. It's just kind of how I wanted to do that. So I went ahead and pulled that all off the strand so that I could more easily see and pick out beads that I'm interested in using. And then I have these Labradorite rounds. These ones here, there's 6 of them, have more of the blue or light toned flash in them. I don't know if you see that little bit of flash. Yeah. Or like this, where it's kind of like a silvery tone. I have some that go a little bit more like golden, but I divided them based on what kind of flash they give, because that's important to me. I may or may not pull from the other ones, but I do want to do this one. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to focus on for my Labradorite bracelet, these are going to be stacking bracelets, and at the end of the month I'm going to have at the end of this challenge, I'm going to have a bracelet that I am going to think about while I'm making it, something that I'm thankful for, so that when I wear all of those bracelets, whether it's together or whatever combination, I can be thinking about the things that are important to me, and be reminded of them. I don't know if I want to do any of these in a particular order. I don't really have a center on this one. Like I said, there's 6 of these stones here, but I feel like I'm rambling. Just need to take a breath, because this is, like I said, more about mindfulness and less about creating, less about the design. I'll put it that way. I'm going to go ahead and see how I like this on the strand with the Labradorite spaced by these light colored Labradorite cubes. But the thing that I thought of, especially with Labradorite, is that I am grateful for the ability that I have. I love that one. Look how pretty that is. For artistic expression. I feel like a lot of times, not all the time, I feel like a lot of times as I try to express myself, that maybe a lot of it is just kind of an everyday thought, everyday experience. But the Labradorite shows these little flashes of brilliance, labradorescence actually, what they call it, but, or just flash, colloquial flash. And I have always thought of myself as an artistic person, but not necessarily like a traditionally artistic person. So I didn't take art. Well, I did take art in high school, but I didn't pursue art because I think I've talked before about how me and my siblings are all very close in age. Becky and I are a year and a half apart. I have a brother who's a year and a half younger than me, and another who is a year and a half older than Becky. And we were competitive, but we tried not to fight about things. So it was often easier. Oh, I love that one so much. It was often easier to basically cede the ground to someone else. So we would have someone in our family that we would view as the artist. I'm trying to decide if I love this or not. I think I might need a little bit added to it. So I'm pulling this off. I do have some seed beads here I was considering adding. I was just going to do the Labradorite, but I don't know. I'm feeling like there's something else that I need. But anyway, for me, my first medium, the one that I felt like I was an artist with, wasn't your typical art supply. It was words, which is funny because I don't feel like I'm stringing my words together very well right now. But for me, I don't know, I identified as the writer. You know, I talked a little bit about how, you know, we each kind of had our thing. Becky had music, my older brother had art, and my younger brother, he got really into theater. And so we all had like the one that was our thing. And I took drama in junior high, and I played in band during high school, or junior high, not high school. But in high school, I started to really develop something I had started to do earlier, but hadn't really felt confident with, and that was writing. I was in a creative writing class. The summer between junior high and high school, I had written a poem, and I really liked it. It just flowed. It just kind of came out of me. It was one of those first moments of brilliance, I guess. That flash of brilliance that we're talking about with the Labradorite. It was the first time I had felt that experience when creating something. And I had submitted that poem when I was a freshman in a brand new high school, brand new town that I was in. And I am liking a little bit more space with these. But I submitted it to the school literary magazine that year, my freshman year, and it made it in. And I was really interested in taking creative writing, but that was only allowed for juniors and seniors. And the advisor, the teacher over the program, both the school literary magazine and the creative writing class, she was impressed enough by that poem that I wrote that she gave me a spot. She approved me joining this class. I was the youngest one in the class, and I was there because of that poetry. But it doesn't always come easy. It doesn't always come as this flash of brilliance. You have to keep plugging along. And I guess that's what I needed with these seed beads, is a little bit of grounding. Still sparkly, still pretty, but it doesn't, not everything has to have flash. If everything has flash, then, you don't appreciate it when you have it. This is a slightly pitted stone, so I'm having a hard time finding the hole. And so I guess that to me is kind of how my creative process, my creative journey has gone. That I feel like I really like this one, pulling that out and subbing it in. I'm grateful for those moments of brilliance that keep me going, that keep me creating. I struggle often with imposter syndrome, or feeling like I can never recapture and get back to that brilliance that I had once had before. And I know that I'm not alone. I know that I'm not alone, and that other people feel that too. And it's normal, but that doesn't really make it any easier to deal with. And I think that it's important to remind ourselves that brilliance still exists. This labradorescence still exists. It still resides within that stone. But the conditions have to be right to see it. And one of the things that you can do is to consistently keep going. Just keep going. Like, one of the things that helped me be a better writer was that we had writing practice at the beginning of every one of our classes. Now, when I was in high school, we had a block schedule. And so it meant that I only had creative writing 2 to 3 times a week. But every time that I had creative writing, we had this writing practice where we would write for 20 minutes at the beginning of each class. Yeah, I like that. I don't think I'm going to add any more of the larger ones. I think I'm going to taper out with the cubes and seed beads, rather than bring in I don't mind the other kind of flash, but I kind of like having just a few, but then there's still other small brilliances along the way, because that's also a part of the journey. But what I was saying is that I had to keep practicing, and not everything that I wrote was brilliant. There were times when I was struggling to come up with something. I would write just nothing, nothing, nothing. In fact, one of my favorite pieces of writing started because I couldn't think of anything to write. That's actually how that poem kind of started. Well, no, it was a story I wrote about trying to write the poem because I couldn't think of anything to write. We'd have writing prompts on the board, and we would, this is turning a lot more into writing rather than other creative outlets, but really this is about any kind of creative outlet, including what I'm doing right now. This is not looking for brilliant design, but this is thinking about my history and where I've come from and what has inspired me. But I wrote this piece where it literally says, like, idiocy stares at me from the gleaming white of a paper that has not been written on. The paper lies flat with no features on its smooth face. Nothing to write, nothing to hold, nothing to love down to the depths of my heart and nurture as I would a child. For writing is my life and there is none. And then I continued on and started writing about the process that I went through in writing that poem in a very poetic prose, which that's my writing style. I love words. I love to string beautiful words together and make them pretty, or funny words. Like the crinkum crankum highway wound its way around my finger. That one was a poem that I wrote during high school as well. I did this thing where I would write a poem every day, starting in my 16th birthday. My great-grandmother did that from her 16th birthday until she was in her 60s. And I wanted to do the same, and I did really good. I did it consistently for a little over a year. That was about as good as I got. But writing a little bit, even when it was just like a line or two, meant that I kept writing. I kept creating. I'm just going to pull this off to the side and kind of see where I am lengthwise. I'm feeling like I'm getting close to the end here, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm just going to put a stopper here, make sure that I've got enough wire to repeat what I've done so far and have a little bit more in case I need to add it. And, oh, I know where my tools are. I will be right back. And I have returned. My flush cutters and my snips and my bead scoop were all in the other room. Normally, I do most of my openings sitting here at my desk, but Becky recently unboxed something, and I like to watch her unboxing when I have the same item, but I'm not going to be filming mine. I'll unbox it sitting in my living room with my beads on my lap, and that's what I had done. But I do have to kind of get back to what I was thinking of because I did have that interruption. I apologize. This is supposed to be about mindfulness. But I just, I don't write consistently anymore. It's kind of, I haven't felt in the place for it. I do it every so often. Every few years I will feel like, oh, I'm back to writing, and I'll do things and I'll write and it will be good. And then I will stop because I get in my head. I think most artists feel that. We think that we're not good. We think that we'll never recapture what we had, especially if we felt like we had promise in our youth. Like, I go back and I reread some of what I've written when I was younger, like those couple of pieces that I read, or not read, I recited a couple of lines for you, was because I have read those words so many times trying to recapture or rekindle that flash of brilliance because it was there. It was in my life. And sometimes I look at that and I think I can never get back to it, that I can never reclaim what I had lost. Which is, it's understandable, but it's really silly. And, oh, I like the flash in that one. It's a little bit darker one, but it has pretty flash. But I just, how do I put it? I feel like I will never get back to what I had done. That because I didn't pursue it with as much commitment when I was younger, that I've missed that. I'm 46, so I'm talking about things that, gosh, I wrote 30 years ago. I'm not that person anymore. I've lived a different life, and sometimes I wonder if I can capture that kind of creativity again. It's something I'd like to do. I keep thinking that I should, that I could. But I am grateful for other forms of artistic expression. Why is this not lining up? Checking the length here. Oh, yeah, I definitely want some more. Am I going to have enough to get where I want to? Yeah, I will still have enough to get where I want to. It might just be a little bit close for crimping. I drew a little bit in high school, and I was a better artist than I thought I would be. But I didn't really allow myself to pursue visual arts until Becky invited me to do watercolor with her. And I learned a lot about giving myself the freedom of artistic expression with that. And playing to my strengths, not trying to just recreate what I see, but to give it a little bit of movement. I'm just adding a little bit to each side until it's the right size while I talk, but that's why I'm switching back and forth. I also enjoy the fact that I can do this, that I can create with beads. That's an artistic outlet that I was not anticipating being able to get into or enjoy as much as I have. And I think that it's good to have different types of artistic expression available to us, because yes, that's going to be more like it. Oh no, not yet. Let's do, I think, 2 more. Just comparing it to this bracelet. Yeah. As well as, measuring it. I think one more little seed bead and stone duo on either side. It's probably going to be about right. I feel like, I don't know, I'm still seeking. And maybe that's part of having that artistic spirit, that artistic soul, that we're always looking for what is going to best express who we are and what we're thinking, how we feel. And I think that it's a journey. Life is a journey, no matter what you do. But most of you who are watching this, you're watching it because you also create, and you create art, sometimes in multiple ways. Oh, there went a seed bead. I think it hit my blinds. But part of me misses the same artistic expression that I had before. Part of me misses thinking of and calling myself the writer. I wanted to be an author. I wanted to be published by the time I was like 25. Well, 20 years after that. Not quite there. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and finish this. I'm going to be making several bracelets tonight, so I'm only going to demonstrate the magical crimper on this one. Otherwise, I'm just going to crimp as we go. I'm going to do this side first. Okay. And this is the magical crimper. It's meant to be used with 0.018 to 0.019 beading wire, and it has this round concavity. And so what you need to do is you need to use a 2x2 crimp tube. These are the ones from Softflex. They have a nice thick wall. Can you see that? That's really important. I've seen a lot of other crimp tubes that are the right size, but they're very thin or they have a seam. This one has no seam and it's got a nice thick wall, and that means it's going to work well in the Magic Crimper. This is what Becky and I do for our crimps. And I'm just putting the crimp tube on. Let me zoom in. Crimp tube on, and I'm feeding this back through the crimp. And then I'm pulling this to get a small loop. I'm going to be attaching my clasp with jump rings, so I am not worrying about this, the size of this loop, except that I just need to comfortably put a jump ring in it. That's in case I need to adjust this by either adding additional jump rings, changing the size, or changing the clasp. So what you want to do is you want to take that 2x2 crimp tube, center it inside that concavity, and when it's centered, just give it a little squish. When you pull it out, you'll see that it has the four corners pinched down like a little ravioli. So you're going to take that and you're going to rotate it so that it's straight up and down inside that ravioli, 90 degrees from where you just were. Make sure that it's centered. Again, super important to be centered. And then give it another squish. And then you just open the jaws of the plier a little bit so that you can turn your wire with the little tube on it. And just keep squishing it until that tube becomes a little bead. And you'll know you're done when you stop having any resistance. It's important to make sure that you stay centered, but when you're done, you'll have this nice, smooth little ball of crimp. You don't have to use crimp covers if you don't want. You don't have to tuck in your tail. You can snip right up against it like this. And then carry on. Now on this side, I'm going to be doing the same as I did on the other with two variations, two changes. The first is that I am taking this crimp tube all the way down as close to these beads as I can get. I'm curving my bracelet just a little bit so that we don't have a stiff bracelet, but I want this as close to the bead as I can get, and I don't want to crunch this seed bead. So I've just placed my thumb between them and pulled this tail so that I can adjust it down to approximately the same size as my other one. Once I have that all in place, I do this again. So I center it, but this time, instead of pulling it out and showing you the ravioli, because I already showed you on the other side, I didn't feel my crimp tube go skiwampus. It feels weird when it's wrong, so you know when it's wrong. And so instead, I'm just opening my jaws wide enough to rotate this, position it in that 90-degree turn, and squish again. Now, the reason that I do this, and I recommend it if you're new to this, is that keeping it centered is really important. And that is much easier to do. I don't know if you saw, but it pulled a little out of position, got it recentered. It's so much easier to do if you keep the crimp inside the tool. I pulled it away just to check on it, thought it might need one more little squish, and it did, so I did it. And I'll go ahead and snip this off. And then we're going to attach a magnetic clasp with some jump rings, and this first bracelet will be done. Now, I did spend a little bit of time introducing the idea. I am hoping, even though I'm making 4 bracelets and we're at the half-hour mark, that this isn't a terribly long video, but I will try to keep it. Let's see. I don't think I want those. I want these. I'll try to keep it fairly short. Well, fairly short considering there's 4 bracelets. I'd like it to come in under 2 hours because I am recording this on my first device, and while I do have some room on it, quite a bit of room, I discovered that if I don't have enough extra room on it for processing, that my videos will get stuck. And I don't want this one to get stuck. So we're gonna go ahead and get this one attached, and we'll move on to the next one. But when I look at this bracelet, I'm going to be thinking about and being grateful for artistic expression and for the brilliance that can come from it. Just checking that jump ring, just making sure that it's a little bit thin, but it's steel, so it's stronger than it looks. I just wanted to make sure, so I gave it a little bit of a tug. And I forgot that I was zoomed in, so I apologize if some of that was off screen. I will zoom back out now. And this is my Labradorite bracelet. And I'll just wear this while we're making the next bracelet. I'll be right back with new beads in the center of my mat. And now for the second week of the Stones of Thankfulness, the second stone of the second week, so my fourth bracelet, this is blue apatite. For blue apatite, it deepens your understanding of yourself and your path. It aids in recognizing the value of experiences and relationships, allowing gratitude to take root. Blue apatite reminds you that acknowledging the good in life is the first step toward attracting more of it. And for this one, I am going to be talking about my mother, my mom. Oh gosh, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, she's my mom. There's going to be a lot to talk about. And on this one, I'm going to try not to be using seed beads. I've used seed beads on almost all of these, but I have these really, really tiny rondelles that, honestly, guys, they're just so beautiful. I want to use these instead of seed beads. So I've got two different faceted blue apatite stones. These are some darker ones that are more of a squat rice shape. And then these ones are faceted rounds. And so I plan on using both of those with the strand, these tiny blue rondelles as a spacer. These I had loose because I'd already used some of them or tried to use them. And so I'll cut this and add some more as we go through the design. But, oh, where does one start when one talks about their mother? My mom is really important to me in so many ways. Her favorite color is blue. That's why this one is definitely going to be about her, because she loves any shade of blue. And of all the gemstones of thankfulness that are featured, this is the blue one. But it's also, it fits with the meaning of it as well. I feel like I have definitely learned a lot from my mother about gratitude and looking for the good in life. My mom had a hard time. She was a single mom with 4 kids, all really close in age, as I mentioned. And she had to work hard. She had to hustle for us. And there's so much that she went through. And there's also, that was a broken bead. I have a couple in here that were split. I feel like there was a lot that she had to do. There was a lot that she had to adjust for. Our mom taught us how to hustle. She had so many side hustles and jobs just trying to provide for her kids. And she sacrificed a lot for us. I am especially grateful for the relationship that I have with her now. We have not always had a great relationship. Through no fault of my mother, I decided to live with my dad during high school. And it hurt her a lot when I made that decision. There were a lot of things going on for me personally, some things going on with family. And I had gone to go stay with my dad over the summer. And when I was there, some of those things came out and became a thing. And my my dad and my stepmom talked about it, and they offered to have me stay and live with them. And I was looking for a change. I was looking for a fresh start somewhere. For purely selfish reasons, I decided that that was something that I needed to do. That I'm gonna see how I feel about putting in blocks of these rounds. Just have a little bit different pattern. One of the things that my mom did, and it was what I wanted to do as well, but when I decided to live with my dad in high school, Mom said, okay, you can, but only if you commit to stay there. Like, she didn't want me bouncing back and forth, which was good. I didn't really want that at the time anyway, but she was really watching out for me and trying to give me stability that I didn't know I needed to look for. It was hard for her. We would talk on Sundays. I'd call her every Sunday, and we'd work on our relationship, but I was only there for visiting on the holidays or a month in the summer. And so my mom didn't get to really be a mom in all the traditional ways. She's not the one who helped me get ready for high school dances or any of that kind of thing. And so she missed out on a lot of that. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older, I had decided about a year out of high school that I wanted to go to college down in Arizona. So I moved back down to be near my mom for college. And it was interesting. We had to find our new relationship. We had to find our new dynamic. And I think that I value the relationship we have even more now because of the way it had to form. We had to figure out a new way. I went down as an adult. I helped cover the cost of like the house and stuff. I paid rent to my mom while I was there. So I was an adult. I was a roommate. But I was also her daughter. And one of the things that we started doing is we spent a lot of time watching historical dramas. We found that was one of the ways that we could bond. I had read all of Jane Austen and loved it. And so we started with, Jane Austen adaptations, and then we'd watch all kinds of other period dramas. And that early development of our relationship as adults, me with my mom, it helped us kind of bridge that gap from she was a mom to a kid, and then that's a little bit too bright. Or too light colored. I love the bright blues. I love how beautifully, like, naturally vibrant blue apatite is. That makes me really happy. But I just, oops, wrong beads. That's something that has carried on as we've gotten older, and we found different ways. From that point until about 10 years ago, I lived within a mile of my mom. From, when I came back from living with my dad, I ended up living near my mom, at least an hour away. From that point until about 10 years ago. And during that time, we would often spend time with each other. Like I said, watching those period dramas. And so now that we're adults, we've kind of morphed that into something else. We've morphed that into spending time. I video call every day with my mom. Well, most days. Most days I video call with my mom. We just finished a book today, actually. Starting a new one tomorrow. And we read historical romance novels because they have that historical drama vibe that we loved from reading and watching Jane Austen. And so it's something that we have developed as a core part of our relationship, and I love it. I love having that time with my mom. I need one rondelle on either side. And then this is going to be a similar length to what else I've already made. But I really value that relationship. Like it said, you know, being thankful and valuing the relationships you have is a big symbol of what blue apatite is. And I feel that, you know, I feel that with my mom. We've made the choice to spend this time together. It's never an obligation. We're very flexible. If one of us has something come up, we just adjust. We delay to another time. We might cancel for the day, and that's okay. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Because neither of us want this to ever feel like an obligation. It's always a choice for us to spend this time together. And so this beautiful blue bracelet, so vibrant and full of so many shades of blue, is going to make me think of my mother and the relationship that we have and how grateful I am for it through all its variations. Get the crimp tubes back over here. I think of silver with blue. I could do any color with this, but I'm going to do silver with this one. And did you see how much shorter that was? Because I wasn't searching for tools or getting distracted. And I don't want that to be that I don't love my mom enough to talk about her longer. I could talk about her a lot longer, but this bracelet is done. And I've thought about the time that I have with my mother and the joy that we have in that relationship that we have. And that's what this is meant to be. So again, I'm going to go ahead and crimp. This will also be faster because I won't be demonstrating this time, but I am going to do it on camera. Not zoomed in, but close enough that you guys can see what I'm doing. Make sure you use your crimpers and not your flesh cutters like I was about to reach for mine. Let go. Okay. But yeah, my mother is very important to me, and I'm grateful for her and all that she's done. And I'm not done talking about her because I'm actually going to talk about her a little bit on my next bracelet as well. Just a little bit near the beginning. I haven't scripted out what I'm talking about. This is more just me thinking and sharing my thoughts as I create. But as I was deciding what I wanted to do for each, I did have some thoughts about how that might go, what I might share with you, what I might choose to share, because this is also a very personal thing. I'm sharing my thoughts out loud. If you've been doing the Bracelets of Thankfulness along with me, if you've been doing other projects and thinking of those that you're grateful for while you're creating, you don't have to share them all out loud like I am. I hope you don't mind. I feel like, I don't know if I overshare, but I feel like I want to be genuine and honest with you. And this is one of the ways that I can be. But I do, when I think sea blue, I think of my mother. I decorate, I do design a lot with blue. I decorate in these tones, like this color right here is like all over my house. And I don't know that I can say I have a favorite color, but I know that blue is my mom's in all its many shades and forms and everything. And this is one of them. So I'm glad that I am creating this and thinking of her. Let's get our other little magnetic clasp. Using the same little jump rings. Not that one. I don't want the thick looking ones. Since I know that the other ones are strong enough, I don't need to get the thicker ones for this. Oop. Hearing things rattle around a little bit. I felt something falling, so I went to catch it with my leg, and it like shook my whole desk. Sorry. I love magnetic clasps, but they do kind of get in the way a little bit when you're trying to attach. So I leave it attached to itself, but it does still want to attach itself to my tools. I'm just slipping this on, and then I'm going to stack it with the other. Like I said, these are designed to be stackable bracelets, so none of them are really big or elaborate, so I can put any number of them on together at one time. So we've got these two that represent the second week. I could actually, especially since these are magnetic clasps, so they're easier to do. This is week 1 here on my right. And week 2. Swap them. So this is week 1 and week 2 on the Gemstone Orphanage Stones of Thankfulness Stash Challenge. And I'm just doing Bracelets of Thankfulness. So let's move on to week 3, since we were catching up with week 2. Give me just a moment, and I'm going to have some different beads on my mat. All right, so we're back with bracelet number 3 of this video, which is bracelet number 5 for the challenge, the first one of week 3 for the Gemstone Orphanage challenge. And this one, let me pull up the right image. This one for red Jasper, and again, ignore the color on my screen. Known as the supreme nurturer, red Jasper encourages our harmonious balance between physical and emotional well-being, which sets the stage for gratitude to emerge. It fosters an environment where you can appreciate life's simple pleasures. In the presence of red Jasper, you are reminded to take a deep breath, look around, and give thanks for the multitude of gifts that life offers. And I am definitely leaning into that with what I'm grateful for this bracelet. I have had, especially over the last few years, and this year especially, a lot of health issues. Some of them have been shared on this channel, some of them haven't. But I feel like a lot of times I get bogged down thinking about how hard certain parts of my life are. And I think that being grateful for what health I do have is really important. I mentioned that I was going to talk about my mom at the beginning of this video, and I'm going to talk about my mom, but in a way I'm talking about me. If my mom had been pregnant with me and tried to give birth even 100 years before she did, I wouldn't have survived, and she might not have either. This is not going to be a catalog of all my health problems, but this is a good example of why I'm grateful for the life that I have, the blood that is in my veins. Because I was breech. I was coming out bum first. And they had to push me in and turn me around, and I can't even imagine how excruciating that must have been for my mother. I'm going to do a group of these just all together. Mine was not her only hard pregnancy either, but it's the one that I don't remember, but I was there for. And I'm grateful that I was born at a time where the doctors could do what they needed to help her with a very difficult pregnancy. My parents didn't have a lot at the time, and I was only 4 hours old when we left the hospital. And my mom worried about that. My mom worried about my health. From that point in my life on, I have always had not exactly delicate health, but there's always been something wrong. It was my allergy to milk. It was my chronic back pain, like from even a child. Like, I would never understand why my brothers and sister would talk about their sides hurting or their stomach hurting when they laughed too much, because my back always hurt first. Always. Even as a scrawny little child. It had nothing to do with my weight. We don't even know why. We never did find out why. But where how do I say this? I guess the point is, I've always had to struggle with things. Things that would make me stand out and be different from the other kids, or that would limit my ability to participate in certain activities. And I think a lot of my life, I have focused on what has been hard about my life and the things that were wrong with my health. But I do have health. I'm not in prime health. I am not saying that, but I am grateful for the health that I do have. I can say that. I'm grateful for the health that I do have, and that as hard as some things can be, they're not everything. I think it's important to stop and remind ourselves that, well, and I have had some reminders this year. You know, I talked about some of my health, but I have had family that have been through even more. That's orange aventurine. I have people that are close to me that have been through more or had it worse, and it's not a competition, but it is a reminder to be grateful for what I do have, and to always appreciate the day that I have and the things that I can do. My limitations still exist. My health concerns are still concerns, but they don't need to determine how I spend my day or how I feel about my life. I am not, make sure I have enough, yes. I'll be using a few of these in another project, so I wanted to make sure that I'm not using up all of any of these beads. Just close. I think it's important sometimes to remind ourselves of where we've been and the things that we have survived. Like, I survived birth when in another century I wouldn't have. And I've survived childhood when my inability to thrive on my mother's milk would have, which that was another thing. That's why I knew as early as I did that I was allergic to cow's milk, is because I wasn't thriving on my mother's milk. They tried goat's milk and that wouldn't work, and they tried cow's milk, and I broke out in a rash and on my face where it had splashed. And then finally I grew up on soy because that was the only thing that worked. And I, again, in a different time, I would have just been one of those infant death statistics. And so I am grateful for the things I have survived, for the health that I have, for the things that I can do, for the blood that flows in my veins and the life that I do have. And I am going to check this length. I've been using this one as a gauge. May as well stay consistent. I do need a little bit more length. Looks like maybe one of these smaller 6mm beads on each end, possibly without the seed bead. Which is fine. I don't have a whole lot of red aventurine, or not a red aventurine, red Jasper in my stash. So I did need to order these. I got them as a set with some chakra beads, because they also had, I'll show you, some tiger's eye. I have tiger's eye, but all of my tiger's eye was dyed and not natural tiger's eye. I think that's right. I think I don't want to have a seed bead on the end, so I'm going to end with the Jasper on these. Yeah. But that was close. Snip. This end. Yeah. Do that one last. I'm going to use gold crimp tubes on this one, and an antique bronze magnetic clasp, which I hadn't got out yet. Kind of matches with the seed beads that I chose. But yeah, that's what I think of. Oh, so I don't have a whole lot of the red Jasper. I want to make sure I save at least a little bit. Looks like mostly I'll be using the 8mm in that future project, which, spoiler alert, it's for next week. Yeah. I think sometimes we need to remind ourselves that there is a lot to be grateful for, even when we may not look at ourselves and think, I'm a healthy person. You are healthy in some ways. You have some health. There are things that you can do. And if you're improving your health, then that's good too, if you're able to. Sometimes we aren't able to. Sometimes we do everything that we can. And that's really all that we can. But I think that dwelling on our limitations and seeing them only as limitations is not a good place to be mentally. You know, this was about both mental and physical well-being. And I talked a lot about the physical well-being, but I've also been through some mental health struggles and a journey, and that doesn't negate what else I've already talked about, but it is another aspect of what all of us go through, and I can fully appreciate where I am in my life right now. Okay, that one has decided it's going through a bead, so I'm going to let it. I don't normally string through a bead. No, I'm going to end up regretting that. I know a lot of people like to do that, but if I have any chance that that tail is going to come loose and scratch me, it just really, really bothers me. So I'm going to make it not go through the bead so I can snip it off and have no tail. Since it's not necessary for this style of crimp. Other styles of crimp, if you're doing other types of crimp, it is important. So, you know, keep that in mind when you decide whether or not you're going to snip at your crimp or not. But I can snip at my crimp here, so I'm going to. And I'm using my pliers to kind of tug a little bit and get this where I want it. Now I'm squishing. I have struggled with my mental health, and I think the two are related. And during times when I have really struggled with some of my physical restrictions, have been difficult times emotionally and mentally. And I hope that if you need help with that, that you reach out to someone who can help. And even if it's just having someone to talk to, you don't have to be on the edge of things to find a resource that is available to you. But I don't want to talk about that for a terribly long amount of time, because I have just finished my bracelet and I'm going to be moving on to something else that I'm grateful for. I am grateful for what physical and mental health I do have. And that is the important part of this conversation, is that I am grateful for those things. I'm going to go ahead and use these guys. I used the gold crimp tubes because that was the closest to the other metal tones that I've got. In the good quality crimp tubes, I haven't seen it in an antique bronze color. I have seen it in other ones that when I look at them, I know that I can't trust the quality. Quality is important, for sure. All right. That other jump ring was already attracting itself to the clasp. There we go. And I'm just using the other end of my, you can use any two sets of pliers to open and close your jump rings, but I already had my magical crimpers out, so they are what I'm using. I like to give a little squish where the jump ring joins. In fact, I'm swapping my tools because that felt weird. Totally just forgot what I was talking about. But this is just finishing the last little step on my red Jasper bracelet. And when I wear this, I will be reminded to be thankful for what physical and mental health I do have. So there's our first 3 bracelets from tonight. The first 2 from the last video and the first 3 bracelets from tonight. So we're actually doing really good. 3 bracelets. I did want to keep this under 2 hours, and I will be able to. Looks like it might be less than an hour and a half. But I'm going to go ahead and pause while I move these beads and bring some more onto the mat. All right, let's talk a little bit about our 6th stone of thankfulness. This is the second one from week 3, and it is Tiger's Eye, as you can see here. Some beautiful tiger's eye with its chatoyancy, that band of light that moves. Love it. Oh gosh, there's so much in all of these. I love tiger's eye. But what this has here for us is it brings harmony and grounds you in the present moment, a place where gratitude can truly be felt. Its protective nature wards off fear and negativity. Tiger's Eye serves as a reminder that feeling safe and secure is in itself a precious gift to be grateful for. And I like where it talks about how it grounds you. I have been thinking about what I wanted to talk about for the tiger's eye, what else in my life I'm grateful for that I haven't talked about yet, that when I look at this, I can think of. And first off, I want to show you, these are the tiger's eye I just got. I got them from the same little couple of bundles that I got that had the red jasper in it, because I realized all the tiger's eye I have, aside from pendants, same with the red jasper, I do have some red jasper pendants, all of the tiger's eye that I have is dyed. So I have this violet color. I don't even know if it's going to show on camera, but we're going to try. But these are like violet. See if I can get the banding of light to show a little bit better. It's not really picking it up. A little bit. Anyway, so there's violet. This is like a cobalt blue. This is a peacock blue, which I love. It reminds me a lot of the colors that we had in our Apatite bracelet. And this is magenta. Tiger's eye. I have a lot of dyed tiger's eye. I love that it takes dye. I love the chatoyancy of tiger's eye, but I'm not often drawn to brown, whether it's to wear or to design with. And so I love the look of tiger's eye, but I get a little bit less into the natural tones. This is dyed golden tiger's eye, and then an emerald green, which I love too. I love this golden, or this green tiger's eye. I'm just showing you my tiger's eye because I love it. And I might work some of these other colors into my design. I want to play with it. I want to play with it and see. And then this is some more of that peacock. These are all, these smaller ones are all English cut. And I do have more of each of those if I do decide to work them into my design and use a lot of them. So I've got some 6mm and 8mm. I have these seed beads. They are like golden colored with a silver lining. They're cylinder seed beads, so they're like a Toho or a Delica. I'm not sure which. Probably a Toho. But that's what I'm going to use for a little bit of small separation, because all of the beads I'm looking at here are 6mm or higher. I think these ones might be a little bit smaller. I don't think they're quite 6mm. Maybe they are if you count hole to hole, but they look smaller because of the cut. But I want to play with this design a little bit. I definitely want to play. And while I am playing with this, so I might string things and unstring it and string it back again. We're just going to play with it. But when I look at the natural tone of this tiger's eye, get this a little bit closer. You can see all of that, those golden banding tones. That's why I chose the gold seed beads. I think about my in-laws. I am grateful for my in-laws. I am grateful that I get along with my in-laws. I know that media would have you believe that in-laws are difficult and they're hard to get along with. I'm just going to pick up some of these and just show them off a little bit. I'm going to zoom in because I think you'll see better if I do. Yeah. When I think about them, I think of them as, you know, they talk about people who are salt of the earth, you know, core, earthy, down to earth. And so this natural tone, tiger's eye, but still beautiful and wondrous. And they've just got this glow because they're such great people. And I am grateful for them. I'm grateful that I have a good relationship with them, that they love me, I love them, we care about each other. I know that not everybody has that. Not everybody has in-laws, and when they do, sometimes we don't all get along. And I'm going to pull out some. Oh, most of these are really great. I was like, I found one that didn't have a whole lot of like the chatoyancy in it. But most of these are really good, considering this was a cheap set off Amazon. Oh, so pretty. Look at how much is in there. It's so pretty. Okay, zooming back out. I wanted to show some of those off to you, and it was harder to see at a distance. But I'm going to start stringing because that's what I do. My in-laws met me the day before my wedding. I had never met them in person. It was before video calls were really a thing. We talked on the phone a little bit, but their son had moved to another state to be near a girl that he then decided he was going to marry in a few months, and then they met me the day before the wedding. This could have been the start to a very, very rocky relationship with my in-laws, but it wasn't, because of the kind of people they are. They weren't sure. They definitely had some reservations, which does not surprise me in the least. But they trusted Jason, and they knew that if he loved me and wanted to be with me, that he would be. And so they all piled in their van and drove across multiple states to come to a wedding in Arizona, meeting the bride for the first time the day before. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning of a very loving and loyal relationship. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for them and the richness that they bring to my life. And that's why I wanted to use not just the standard color. Oh, I didn't want to do it in that order though. Hold on. The standard color of Tiger's Eye, although that is the predominant stone, but I am weaving in little bits of these other colors, the green and the gold, which those are the high school colors in the town where they live, and the blue and this magenta, the different parts of this life. I didn't just get a mother-in-law and a father-in-law. I got brothers-in-law. I got grandparents-in-law. We have since lost his grandpa. But his grandmother is still there and such an important part of our lives. And I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for her love. We're the kids. It's not Jason and his wife. It's, I'm one of the kids too. And that love is real and isn't. Let's see how this looks. They don't pretend. It's not just a front. Like, once you're in the family, you're always in the family. They felt the same way even after some of the, marriages may or may not have worked with some of the family, and they still count everybody as family. And I love that. Once you're in their heart, you're in their heart. You're in their life. You're in I'm going to do this purple one for kind of a middle stone. And then I'm going to repeat this pattern coming back out of it, I think. Oh, but not next to the blue. We need another one of these. Yeah. And I might change on this side. I might change it so these ones that are with the between the star cuts, I might bring those down to the 6 millimeter. I'm going to check it when I do this side of it, because again, this is just taking time to sit and string and think about what I'm grateful for and who I'm grateful for. And I absolutely 100% am grateful for them in my life. They make a difference to me. My life is different because they're in it. And I've been in their life for over 22 years. That's a long time. That is a long time. I am loving all the color in here. I don't know if this is going to be, it might be too long as strung, but I'm gonna step down to the 6mm, not here, but the next one, and then I might restring the other side. It'll take a little bit less space, but I just wanted to, like, it's not just one person, it's everybody and all the different colors that they add, all the different personalities, all the different people. Not that. Do a green one. That might not shorten it enough. We'll see. I will adjust as necessary. Like I said, this one I'm definitely playing, and there's going to be stringing and restringing because I'm not trying for perfection, but it's one of those things where I just like them, I want to include them all those different shades of tiger's eye that I had because I got them and I loved them and I loved the color and I loved how they looked. Just like they bring everybody, ooh, I made a mistake right there. Just like they bring everybody into their family, I wanted to include everybody. And that's why I'm using all the different, whoops, 2 seed beads. All the different colors and shapes and sizes, because it's that is one of the things that I absolutely love about my husband's family, is how open their hearts are to include everyone. Not long after Jason and I got married, a couple of years after we got married, we actually moved to his hometown where he grew up, and we lived with my in-laws for a couple of months while we were working on selling our house in Arizona, getting that finalized, and looking for a house in Texas. And during that time, my mom and my stepdad decided to also up sticks and move from Arizona to Texas, and they moved to the same small town. And they, to this day, 20 years later, because that's when we moved to Texas. I can't believe I've lived in Texas for 20 years. But my mom and my stepdad are just as much family as I was. They didn't just open their hearts and have me be family. My family is their family. They care about what's going on with my brothers and my sister, and they are always asking about my parents and how they're doing, and including them in their thoughts, in their prayers, in their daily, check-in actions. They will, like, if mom comes to visit either me or Becky, they'll call and check in on my stepdad, who had a stroke, and so he has some physical limitations. He had actually had 2 strokes. And I need to crimp this end. I'm glad that I'm tapering the size down. I might need to go back to this one that's between the magenta and the green and have that be the smaller one too. That's currently what I'm thinking I might need to adjust. Because while I'm talking, I am thinking a little bit about my design and getting the length the way that I want it. No, I might not. I might not. That's actually looking pretty good. Let me get some of this cut. I strung most of it just from one side to the end. Getting this cut. But yeah, my in-laws they're just like that. They're the kind of people that they care. And their family might be people who married into the family like I did. Their family might be their neighbors that they always see and check in with and care about. You know, it's not just, there's friends who are friends that they become family and they're treated the same way and they're checked in on and they're valued. And I can't say enough good things about them. And I am very grateful that that is the family that I married into. And it says a lot about who my husband is, that this is the family that he came from. This is the family that formed him. This is the family that he was raised by and grew up in. And you can see it. You can see it. It's why he is as patient and grounding as he is. You know, we talked about how Tiger's eye is grounding, and I talked about that when I talked, actually this bracelet, the aventurine bracelet, was the one that I talked about my husband while I was making it. And I think I need to add no, I think that that's done. I think that that's done. I was going to add a no, I'm going to add one seed bead to each side. Because again, these stack, and so they're not all going to sit on the same spot in my wrist, on my wrist. And again, using the gold ones. And the crimp tube will look like a third bead right there, so that will be fine. Okay, putting this back on my wrist. Just snapping that. I love magnetic clasps for that reason. They're just so easy to put on. I don't put a lot of strain on mine. If you move a lot and you might bang your bracelet on stuff very much, you might not want to use a magnetic clasp. I love them. You also can't really use a magnetic clasp if you like a snug fit. I like my bracelets to fit a little bit loose. You need to have enough movement in your bracelet so that when you flex your wrist like this, they're not going to snap open. That is one thing to keep in mind when you're deciding on a clasp. I'm using magnetic clasps for all of these, just like I do with my bracelet trios. But yeah, I think of my down-to-earth, super welcoming, loves everybody that comes in their orbit family that I became a part of when I married Jason. They are my family. I refer to them when talking to other people as in-laws, but I don't think of them as in-laws. I think of them as my family. It doesn't matter to me how I came to be in their family. Oh my gosh. Okay, before I actually crimp it, I'm just checking to make sure I didn't miss the order of these, but gosh, guys, I love how vibrant this turned out. Like I said, I'm not usually drawn to your traditional tiger's eye because I love the golden tones. I do. I love the golden tones. But I don't generally wear things that are just brown. But look at how beautiful this is. And just like my in-laws, I wanted to include everybody. I wanted to include everybody. All those other different colors that I got. I did leave out the cobalt blue because I had the other blue that I used twice. It's brighter, it's more vibrant, so I chose it. And I would not have had room. I would not have had room. I also have, I didn't even have it on my mat because I knew it would be too much. I also have a midnight blue, which is even darker, but gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Maybe I'll make something with those sometime. But I I'm really liking how this one turned out. I wasn't sure at first. I did worry a little bit that it would be a little bit clown-like with all the colors, but I kind of love this, guys. I kind of love this. These guys feel a little bit redundant. They are dyed, these like honey ones, but I think they needed to be there. They need to be included. And I just, I'm loving how that one turned out. That's the one I was least confident going in. Like I said, I was getting ready to play and I wasn't sure what I was going to like, but I think, you know, as I talked about, you know, this family that's so important to me and why and how they are with everybody else, it inspired me to make sure that I included all of those because, you know, this is my little family of tiger's eye beads, and I got them at all kinds of different times, but I love them, and they're beautiful, and they needed to be included, just like my family accepts and welcomes everyone into the family. Honestly, I'm so grateful. I feel very lucky and blessed that I have them. So this is my 6th bracelet of thankfulness. I'm going to get out a couple of jump rings and the magnetic clasp that I'm using for this one, which should be, had it right here, there it is, these gold ones. They're all the same style. It's not the most secure style of clasp, but it's a pretty strong magnet, and so I'm going with it. So far, I haven't had trouble with these, so that's fine. And look for more from me next week. We'll have the 7th Gemstone of Thankfulness. I'll probably recap the ones that I have made and what they represent to me. So if you come to this, you know, partway through this series, you're not completely lost, but I actually have created a playlist for the Gemstones of Thankfulness, or Bracelets of Thankfulness, on our channel. You are welcome to check out that playlist. And that was Becky's suggestion, actually, to make a playlist for it. I love that. She loved this idea so much. I had a sweet comment from Debbie at Gemstone Orphanage that she absolutely loved the way I was approaching this particular stash challenge, and that meant a lot to me. I'm not doing theirs as a separate bracelet. I have plans for the last one, but I am grateful for Debbie and Steve and the inspiration that they have been and how much they embrace the creative, artistic side of what we do, giving us these challenges that are meant to use our stash, but then they also give us stash. I mentioned that this is part of a challenge. I talked about the details in the first video, but in case you haven't seen that yet, on their Facebook page, which will be in the description below, there is let me try this on with my other bracelets. My magnets are trying to attach to the other magnets and not itself. So this is what I have so far for my stackable bracelets. And so what they have is in their Facebook group. It's going to be linked in the description of this video. They have a stash challenge every month, and what this challenge is and what you receive for participating varies. This one is actually very generous. For every week that you participate by posting something that you have made and sharing something that you are grateful for, regardless of what you make it from, you get what they call a party bag. That is one of the 7 stones of thankfulness, a couple of different sizes with some ear wires to be able to turn it into, basically it's a little earring kit for each stone of thankfulness. And it is the Gemstone Orphanage, so they're going to be good quality gemstones. But then if you do one, use either of the featured gemstones for that week, even if you do it late, as long as you turn it in before the end of next week. I think it's a little earlier. I need to check because of the holiday. I need to check for the final date on that. And that will be in my next video as it ends. But they, drawing a blank. Oh, if you use one of the featured Gemstones of Thankfulness, then they will include a second Stone of Thankfulness party bag for that week. So each week you can earn up to 2, one for participating at all, and an additional one if you use one of the featured stones. I'm doing overkill. I'm using all of the featured stones for all of the weeks, but that's fine. I'll just receive 2 per week, and it can work out so that by the end of the challenge you receive all 7 Stones of Thankfulness little party bags. That's a party, P-A-T-R-I, like participation, and get those little earring kits for each of those gemstones. And I think that that's a really generous one. They encourage us to make from our stash. We don't have to use gems that we got from them. Most of these I did not get from them, but I did get these rose quartz chips, as well as a few other small gems from them at different times. But the point is to use your stash, and then they give you more things for your stash. I love the folks at Gemstone Orphanage. I will go ahead and post a link to their store where you can subscribe to their subscription. We are going to actually be doing a video for the December subscription soon. Stay tuned for that. They're going to do the reveal on their YouTube channel first, and then you'll see something from us here. But you'll want to go ahead and subscribe to their YouTube channel, the Facebook group, so that you can join in the stash challenges, as well as check their store for any special editions, or to subscribe to their Doorstep Baby subscription, which is $34.95 a month plus shipping, which in the US is a flat $6. Yeah, I'm going to have all those links, lots of links, because I love Gemstone Orphanage. And one of the reasons I love them is how involved they are in creating a community that's not just about buying their product. It's about celebrating different things and celebrating creativity and sharing that creativity with each other. So I'm really grateful to them. So thank you, Debbie and Steve. But also, I'm grateful for my creative, having a creative outlet. I'm grateful for my mother. I'm grateful for the health that I have, and for my in-laws. And then from last week, I'm grateful for Becky and for my husband, Jason. And that's why I wanted to do these as stackable bracelets, because your earrings and your necklace, those are things everybody else sees. You see them only if you look in a mirror, but your bracelets are for you. They can be your reminders. They can be something you admire during the day. And by making these stackable bracelets, I feel like I'm embracing that, embracing the spirit of wanting to connect and remember and think about these things that are important to me. So thank you for joining me. I know this is a little bit longer video, but I was catching up. So this is weeks 2 and 3 of the Gemstone Orphanage Stash Challenge, which is the Stones of Thankfulness. And I'm doing my series that is called the Bracelets of Thankfulness. And I'm just taking off the 3 that I made right now so we can have one last look down on the mat of the bracelets that I made tonight. In no particular order, apparently. That's just the order they came off, but it looks pretty that way. I think that looks pretty. Reposition this and scooch this down. And I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you enjoyed spending a little bit of time with me while I made simple but meaningful designs for these stackable bracelets. and thinking of and sharing with you the things that I love and I'm grateful for. I hope that you had a wonderful time. If you liked this video, hit like. If you want to see more, subscribe. Watch for my final video next week in my Bracelets of Thankfulness series. And as always, my friends, happy beading, and don't forget to play. Bye.